Hi, my name is Phyllis Kaplowitz. I'm executive chef of Baker's Best Catering, and today we are going to make a nut-free Linzer cookie. The great thing about this cookie is you can give it to your sweetheart or friends or family, and it doesn't have any nuts in it. Obviously, being a caterer, we get a lot of calls for that, so let's get started. So what I have here are my ingredients for my cookie. Very simple, basic cookie mix. I'm going to get my butter and sugar into my mixer, and I want to cream them together so they get just incorporated. And I'm going to put the mixer on a low speed because I don't want my sugar going everywhere. So while that's mixing, I'm going to sift my dry ingredients together. And what I have here is just some all-purpose flour and iodized salt. And I'm going to use my sifter and get my flour in there and some salt. And I'm just going to sift out those ingredients. And that's going to just make the cookie come together better and have a more delicate taste to it. All right, so I'm going to come back to my butter here. It's getting nice and creamy and light. I'm just going to kind of in between steps here, scrape that bowl because I want to make sure all of my ingredients are incorporated. Get that all out of there. I'm going to get my butter and sugar back on. I'm going to add 1 egg to it and some vanilla. And again, we just want to incorporate all of those ingredients. I'm going to scrape my bowl one more time. I'm a big bowl scraper. I just want to make sure that I don't have any loose ingredients in there and everything's going to come together well. So now what I want to do is add my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients. And I'm going to add my flour. I'm just going to kind of dump that right in there. No need to worry about doing it in stages. All right, now I'm going to get my mixer back on. And I just want to get that dough kind of working and just incorporated so the dough becomes a bit wet and you see it starting to form. Okay, so here my cookie dough is starting to come together and I don't want to overmix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the mixer and I'm going to dump it onto a floured surface. I just don't want to overwork that dough because I really want a nice, light, flaky cookie. So let's get that out here. And always remember to flour your surface so your cookie dough doesn't stick. And we're just going to gently knead this dough together till it comes all together. What I typically like to do with my dough is I'll separate it into 2 pieces. It's just a lot easier to work with when you're rolling it out, and I might not want to make this entire recipe. Great part about this cookie dough is I can make it up to a month ahead of time and put it in my freezer and then just take it out when I'm ready to use it. So now I'm just going to shape my dough into some discs because that's just going to make it easier when it's time to roll it out. And I'm just going to take some saran wrap and wrap my dough up. And then I'm just going to pop this in the refrigerator and chill it for about 30 minutes. Okay, so we've chilled our dough now for about 30 minutes, and what we're going to do now is make some cookies. So I have my dough out, again on a floured surface, and I'm going to add a little bit of flour to top because I want my rolling pin to stick. And I want to just roll my cookie dough out to about 1/4 of an inch. And again, you want to just make sure you do an even layer. And if you have to add a little more flour in between, just so you don't rip your cookie dough. So then with a round cutter, I have one that's about 2.5 to 3 inches in diameter. I'm going to cut discs out of my dough and just kind of move along where I have this dough cut out close to each other so I can get as many cookies as I can out of my sheet here. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take my cookie discs at this point and just kind of lift them up with the spatula and lay them onto a cookie sheet I have here lined with parchment paper. And I always use a spatula because sometimes the dough might actually stick to my table and rip the cookie. So we'll just kind of peel this away. We just want to fit these on our pan here. They're really not going to spread out, so you can get them all right on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a smaller cutter. Here I'm using a fluted heart-shaped cutter, and I'm going to kind of punch out hearts in my cookie. The reason why I want to do this on my sheet pan is because I don't want to rip my cookie as I pick it up onto the table. So I'm just going to cut those hearts out. And some people might take these and rework it and keep making the same cookies. I like to save them and make little heart-shaped cookies as well. So I have 2 different types of cookies. And it looks really pretty on your platter. So this recipe with the cutters that I have will make about 25 cookies and then 12 of these little heart-shaped mini cookies. Okay, so now my cookies are cut, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and stick it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes to let them get cold again, and I'm going to pop it in my preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes until the cookies get nice and flaky and golden. Okay, so here we have our cookies. They're all baked off and out of the oven. I've let them cool down just a little bit because I'm about to spread my jam on them, and I don't want the cookies to be hot and obviously the jam to get all gooey and melt and make a big mess. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have some powdered sugar here in a shaker, and I'm just going to lightly shake the sugar on top of my hearts, because after that I'm going to spread that yummy raspberry jam in there. And you really just want to focus on the tops of the cookies. And then I'm going to take one of my cookies and a little bit of this raspberry preserves, and you can use any type of filling you want. If you don't like raspberries, I happen to, and I like the seeds for some reason, but whatever you desire. And I'm just going to spread that jam around evenly and try and get it almost all the way up to the edges. So when I take my top of my cookie with my pretty heart on it, I'm just going to kind of push that in there and have my heart-shaped raspberry Linzer tart cookie. So here you can see that I've done the same style cookie with the little mini hearts, and I have 2 different types of Linzer cookies. So thanks very much, and I hope you enjoyed this recipe.